sweet compassion when my soul's in need. I find compassion for friends and enemies. My own compassion is where my spirit breathes. Live from Santa Barbara, welcome to Compassionate Connection. I am your hostess, Gigi Amor. The purpose of our show is to share with you how to connect compassionately within ourselves and with others when we choose to learn to communicate effectively. We can transform and enrich our lives and relationships and have a more wonderful, enjoyable world. And I'd like to mention to you that we can also be viewed on CompassionateConnection.tv. Now, moving forward, I'd like to reflect on Dr. Marshall Rosenberg and his most popular best-selling book, which is Nonviolent Communication, the Language of Compassion, the Language of Peace from the Heart. And I'd like to just share with you that this is popular now in 42 countries and has been translated into 24 languages and still growing strong, which is really awesome. And tonight I would just like to introduce my very special guest that has come a very long way around the world, from India, as a matter of fact, to be with us this evening. What a thrill to have you with us. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, my pleasure.
I'm going to tell people a little about you. Shaila Rao was born and raised in India and now lives in Chennai, I believe. Could you pronounce that for me so we're clear?
Chennai, formerly Madras.
Thank you so much. And I know that you were educated in India and you have a business as Vetavas, which is actually about inner space. And you have helped individuals and groups to improve how they deal with relationships, both personal and business. And there are similarities. Your practice is with nonviolent communication, and we will discuss these similarities tonight. I'm really thrilled. So we get to go into your passion and how you were introduced to nonviolent communication.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing with us how that came about?
I was actually going through a very difficult phase in my life. I had lost my son. He was 8 when he died, and I was kind of bellowed by all the turbulences that happened at that point in time. When a particular friend of mine introduced me to nonviolent communication, he said that it would be really life-changing for me to understand the NVC and to know more about NVC. So that's when I went for Dr. Marshall Rosenberg's session in Pune in India. It was a 10-day IIT session, and that's when I first came into NVC.
How beautiful. What comes up for me when I hear that is the joy of learning, gaining the knowledge of nonviolent communication and the peace that we learn that we can come to within ourselves. I imagine you found that very helpful as well.
Yes, I did. I think I moved from being a victim to learning to take charge of who I am.
Very empowering.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I love this. Well, let's explore some more. I know that you also are focused. And in this program, I know you'd like to provide some nuggets for helping people to understand compassion and coping with the pressures that we face in our daily lives. And so I wonder if you could give us kind of like a briefing about your experience with how this is working out as well in your life.
Some of the things I really learned in this nonviolent communication was I moved away from stereotypes of violence. I first assumed that violence was when somebody beat you up or when there was a lot of physical violence. But I later realized violence can be very subtle, can be very invisible, but absolutely palpable. For example, I realized as a parent I could have been very violent with my kids when I don't understand their needs, when I don't understand which values they're coming from and what is it that they really want. So my ability to listen to the unspoken, that increased a great deal. Not just with my children, but with anyone I came across with. So listening ability went really high for me. Listening to the unmet need or listening to what the person really cannot or is not able to say, that really helped me a great deal with NVC. Moreover, it helped me, I mean, as a natural fallout, it happened that most relationships from then on actually became very smooth because there was no demands. And it was only from my side to understand what is this person really needing without probably not being able to say so.
So just by that, it sounds so easy, but the listening,
yes,
and hearing the need behind the yes behind the no, the pain behind the no, and
yes.
Oh, I love that. It made right there just your life itself more enjoyable by that understanding how our words can get in the way, let alone how deep it goes where it even affects the consciousness of our thoughts.
Very true.
So this leads me into this little exploration of a question, and that is, how do you see yourself in connecting with religion today in India, nonviolent communication?
Typically in India, we have this philosophy, this concept of ahimsa. Ahimsa means nonviolence, which I think was propagated mainly all around the world through Gandhiji. But even before Gandhi was there, ahimsa was one of the tenets of Hinduism. It simply means being non-hurtful, okay? And non-hurtful not just to human beings, but to any sentient being. So, me included. Typically, you'd find a lot of people, they would think twice or maybe 10 times before I even hurt another person. But in the bargain, I end up hurting myself. This was one aspect that I learned from NVC, which, you know, it's a lot more easier to take care of the others than to take care of yourself. So at least for me, it was a major learning where I would forget to take care of my needs or my wants, or even to stop and listen to what I have to say for myself, to listen to my own thoughts. So even today in the Indian religion, you have what is called Tattvamasi. That means there is an Atma in myself and I need to respect that. So there are a lot of similarities like this, which talks about self-worth is the beginning where I can, you know, start respecting someone else. Only if I respect myself will I be able to respect someone else.
I love that. Well, there you hear the truth. Thank you. There you go. Well, I know now we've touched, I wonder if we could explore this Hinduism, and can you give us a brief a briefing on Hinduism.
Hinduism has been such a very, very, very old religion in the East. And from there we have other religions like Sikhism, Jainism, Buddhism. All these religions are also part, or it has kind of evolved from Hinduism. One of the most beautiful things about Hinduism is it rejects nothing. Everything is accepted. Everything is accepted. So there is very little resistance. And because of this least resistance, it also calls in for least effort, but maximum results. How does that happen? It happens because the individual self is sublimated to the universal self. Because both of them go hand in hand, then after that there can be very little friction about wanting anything or about needing anything. Am I reaching?
Yes.
Yes.
You stay with your attention on what you really need and with that intent.
Yes, it gets echoed from the universe. If my alignment of myself, my inner self, and what is really dharmic in the sense as in a cosmic level, if both of them are aligned, everything happens. In fact, even me being here today with you, I don't think I planned anything, but it just happened because there is something that is very correct which the universe hears, and therefore it happens, not because I want it only.
Oh boy, that's a whole other show, isn't it? All these things work out. I understand exactly what you're saying. Thank you. It's like that a surrendering to what is.
True, very true. Yes, exactly.
And that divine energy force, I think a lot of people kind of acknowledge that. A lot of stuff going on. We know.
True.
Well, now moving forward, I wonder if perhaps you can be a bit more specific on the deeper spiritual meaning of Hinduism as compared to other Indian religions.
Spirituality in a typical Hindu sense would be, to quote it in Sanskrit, Sarvajano Sukhino Bhavantu. That means may every single human being, living being, be happy. Okay, so when every single living being is happy, I'm one of them. So I'm also happy. But that's at a philosophical level. At a practical level, when you look at NVC, even Marshall speaks about every need is a universal need. It does not matter which geography I come from or which country or whatever, nothing really matters there because every single need is the same for every single human being. So these two tally so much, and it's been said aeons ago, and it has to be said and said and said before we can really make it into our DNA.
Okay, well, as I repeat what I want to just have in me for knowledge, that's a good thing. Put it in our DNA. I love that. And on it goes. Very powerful. Well, let's see. I appreciate that we could spend many evenings, of course, discussing Hinduism, and perhaps you can discuss some of the major rituals of, let's see, ideologies.
For example, one of the things that, where does conflict happen? Conflict happens when I don't want to give in something of mine and you two don't want to give in something of yours. That's when conflicts really arise, where I just do not want to budge from some particular thought process or belief system that I have. Okay? When I again understand from which value the other person turns out, I'm able to understand, okay, it is possible there can be two rights. It need not always be that I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. It's possible that both of us can be right. Right? So in our, if you look at it from a spiritual point of view or